So the Roland P6 has been out for about a year now, and when it first dropped, it drew a lot of comparisons to Roland's other SP samplers, with portable, lo-fi grit, the same effects and variable sample rates you'd find on gear like the SP404 or even the SP403. But after a year of daily use, the P6 has proven to be full of surprises. So today, I want to show you what the workflow is really like. We'll build a beat and talk through the good, the not so good, and what I still think could use some improvements. Let's get into it. Let's get into some sample chopping. So we're gonna start today with some guitar. And I sampled in using the P6 app. And the app is actually really good if you want to move samples over quickly from a computer, but also you can do all the downsampling that you can do if you hit sample and then change the lo-fi setting. So we're just gonna go and chop it. And all we need to do is go Shift G, which is voice, and we go over to chop. And then we're just gonna do 16. You can do a ton. I like to start with 16 usually because I just wanna find those happy accidents between the chops. And then now we need to get out of chops and we're going to go to pitch and I'm gonna drop it. I usually do 3 or 4 to start. So let's do that. And then to check out the chops, because now it just plays that first chop. If we hit the pad, we're gonna hit the keyboard button. Okay, I think we got something. Now what we would need to do is either set a click or we'll just put a kick down. And I think that's what we're gonna do. If you wanted to get to 32 steps, go to D sharp, which is last, and then just change it from the stock 16 over to 32. And this gives us 2 bars. We could do 64 if we wanted 4 bars. So that's gonna be our little click track. There is a metronome. I just typically like to have the drums on. All right, so if we turn on the loop, now I hit a couple wrong notes there, right? One of the best parts about the P6 for me is its step sequencer. Unlike the SP404 with its TR rec mode, the step sequencer on here is a lot more intuitive and much more electron based in an interesting way. So what's awesome is this one, we hit a wrong note, right? We can just hold it and we can change the note. And we change that one from D sharp to E. And then if we go over to the next page, bar 2, which is just navigating between E and F, that's page 1 and 2, we can see what we've got here. Now the other cool thing is every step we can actually go and change a lot of different settings. If we hold granular or hold the pad and press granular, we can change things like velocity, probability, gate, and T stands for micro time or time, but you can change its micro timing. So if you wanted to get things a little off the grid, that's a great way to do it. So let's go back over and we're gonna remove that kick click. Now we do have bus effects and we also have send effects. We'll get into that later. What we're gonna do next though is we need drums. That's key for beat making. So we're gonna take this sample and I'm gonna go over to chop. My workflow on the P6 revolves largely around chopping samples. I like to send a sample in, take longer samples or the multi-samples, that's another thing you can do on here when sampling, and get those different chops. We have limited space, right? We only have 48 sample pads, but in each sample pad, we can chop those and have multiple little sub pads or different sounds. Just like on the guitar, we turn that one loop into multiple different sounds. So we'll do that with the drums as well. We've set it to chop, so if we hit keyboard, this drum loop is not at 96 BPM, but we're gonna use it at 96 BPM. So rather than adding shuffle or doing micro time changes later, we can take those little inconsistencies or incongruencies between the source sample's original BPM and the BPM we're using, and that will just naturally make the groove and the shuffle that we could spend a lot of time programming in, but we're just kind of bypassing that need by having it just from the incongruencies between sample and current BPM. So what I'm gonna do, because I'm going headphones through my computer, so there's a large amount of latency, I'm gonna program this kick. If we get out of keyboard, the default step you're programming or key that you program per step is gonna be C. So we'll put that just right on both of those. And if we wanted to, we could even do the snares, let's say, in this same fashion. We can put it on the 2 and the 4. And if we hold this one down, I think, let's see, what is our snare? Okay, our snare is D. So if we hold this one down, change it from the C note to D. And this is one of the things that I would love to see updated. The P6 only got 1 or 2 small like bug fix updates after launch, and it's not gotten an update since then, and it's been a year. I was really hoping we were going to see an update come its birthday, and I think that has already passed. But what I would like to see in an update, one of the biggest things that I think wouldn't be too difficult to do, hopefully, is be able to hold multiple pads at once and change things. You get per step parameter changes, just like a Digitac. So you could change level per step. You can change the note values we discussed, velocity and all of that, but you can't do it at the same time. So if you wanted to change micro timing or velocity and do like every other one has a lower velocity, you have to do each one separately, just like we have to change these notes. And it's pretty painstaking and boring. So a quick fix would be just be able to hold both of these at once and change them. But if we do that, you'll see only one change. This one's still set to C. Now we've got... Okay, so now let's find some other notes that we like. So D sharp, E, and G. Okay, let's see what we can get with that. I'm actually going to do it this way and just see what we get. That D sharp, I think, is going to be our kind of anchor. Let's see how that turns out. Oh, that sounds good. It's wonky in all the right ways. Let's see what happens if we turn lo-fi on the drums. So we get that nasty bit crush sound, but if we hit shift lo-fi, we can actually change the amount. So here how if we crank it, hear all that bit crush? We don't want all that, but I want a little bit. So I'm gonna drop it to about there maybe. And then we've also got per pad filters, which is a huge thing even the SP404 doesn't have. So I'm gonna put that on the drums there. That could also be a way that we could limit some of that lo-fi sound. But if we go to Shift G sharp, which is filter, first, you want to make sure that you turn it on. So you go to type and it's always set to off at start. So we're going to put on a low pass filter. That's going to cut out the high. Then we'll change the cutoff. If you hit filter and then just go to cutoff, it's not going to do anything. You have to get the it turned on to whatever setting you want, band pass, high pass, whatever. So I just want to trim some of that hi-hat sound. And we'll do a little resonance bump. Let's see what else we've got though. Oh, that almost worked. I don't think... That's just at stock pitch. And some of these samples are from that budget bin vinyl haul we did a couple months ago where I got like, what was it, 10 vinyl for 30 bucks or something? This is one of them. I think what we're going to do with that one is put a filter on it. Yeah, let's do low pass. Then we'll go to cutoff. And I think I only want that in the first bar. Let's get out of that for the second bar. Right, we have to turn off record first. Yeah, sometimes I always find with samples less is more, right? If you have this repeating theme or recurring theme, rather than have it just keep repeating, take it off a little bit, ease it up, only have it happen once every 2 bars or every 4 bars. And it just makes it a little more special and a little more significant and stand out rather than just like constantly being barraged with that same sound. What I want to also do is go into the send effects. So we're going to go to mixer and we need to turn on the send effects first. And we'll add some signal to the send and reverb for this. Oh, it's not even the right one. We got to do it for the sax. So we'll put the reverb on pretty high. Oh, listen to that. And let's put on some delay. Not a ton. Now I haven't changed the settings yet. It's an interesting process on the P6. Everything you do is kind of one step at a time. So you need to turn on the send effects first by adding the amount per pad. Then you can go in on this little 4-character screen and start changing what the timings are, settings, and all that sort of stuff. There's the reverb. Let's get a lot of, or delay I should say. Let's get a lot of reverb on this. There we go. And I'm gonna put just a touch of reverb on that drum. All right, now we can go in, and if we hit Shift A sharp, which is delay and reverb, you can't turn on delay and reverb in this setting, but you can change all of the settings of those on this spot. So there's some interesting little menu diving on the P6, and I always keep my P6 cheat sheet right here ready to refer to because it gets complicated. So we're gonna change some delay settings. I think we'll get into the granular too. So delay sync, we want that on so it's set with the time. Yeah, hear all that reverb. So yeah, we might change things around a little bit. That's pretty nice. And then what we can do is take off some of that time. That's a long time. And then we'll change the level. And there's also high and low pass. So I like to take off a lot of low end on the reverb and then even some high end so that it's just sitting in the mix in the mid range. So we took out a lot of the boominess of that reverb just by shaving that low end, and then we kind of warmed it by just having it in that mid-range. It's just thickening the mid-range. You know, we don't get a lot of editing capability in terms of EQ and stuff like that on here, so that's my workaround for it. What I want to do next is actually sample from the S1 to talk sampling. So to enable sampling, you hit sample. If you hit lo-fi, that's how you can change the sample rates. Now there are different times or durations of how long you can sample in each sample rate. So its main function for the sample rate is to enable longer time, but the byproduct is when you do those lower sample rates, it takes off a lot of high end, but it also really grits it up and gives it that kind of bit rate sound. So let's hear, we've got the S1 on just a stock setting. I'm gonna go over to pattern 6 from my S1 cheat sheet, and yeah, that's nice. That'll work, even though that chord was terrible. So it's very clean. You're not hearing it as the sample rate will be, but what I am gonna do is turn on cassette. Yeah, let's do that. I think what we're gonna do though is turn off. It sounds like there's some sub on that. Yeah, that sounds good. There is count in and all that sort of stuff, but I don't typically use it because what I wanna do is, as we discussed previously with the drums and things like that, I want to record in such a way that I get those interesting little off time bits and things like that. So I'm going to just record, I'm going to listen to the song, get a feel for what I think is the BPM and just try to record a part, and then we're going to layer it on top. So just really quickly, so going from the S1, we can do our sample rates, which gives us some sound design capabilities. You'll hear the difference, we'll play it. But then also you've got bus effects. We have quite a few bus effects. These are very similar, some exactly the same, or all basically exactly the same as the SP404. So if you're familiar with those, they all translate here, but it's a little more difficult to change things around and stuff, and these knobs are pretty easy to hit. From there, I'm going to turn on the cassette. You'll know it's on because the MFX button or whichever of these is lit up. And so just to hear that difference, that's with the cassette on. We're going to put it on standby by choosing pad 6, hitting record or sample again. That gets us into the standbys. Okay. It's got a write, so you can see it takes a couple seconds, and that's not that long of a sample. So what we could just test out is what happens if we just play it. Wow, that actually worked. I'm surprised. So you saw there, I was not playing to a click or anything like that. That just happened to work decently. I don't think it's perfectly on the grid, but I didn't want it to be. We could have recorded it in that way. Now, one thing though is I have to check if you can set it to external in only, like on the SP404. But if I were to record that while playing this part, it would record the whole thing. I don't think we have any blank pads on this one. Let's see if we've got any. So we have one here. So if I were to set this one, say, yep, put it on standby. So just to show you, everything's on there. But notice the difference in sound quality real quick. So original, and then if we play it at the sample rate, hear how much like artifacting, just grittier sound. One more time. This is the original now. Hear that difference? So that's what I mean by the sample rates work to add some sound design, because you can really distort it. And check this out, if we wanted to take that one, right? Let's go and chop that up and see what we get out of it. We'll go to voice, chop, let's do 16. And then let's see what we've got from it. Now we could have recorded that as something new and chopped that up. We're not going to do that because I don't feel like redoing a whole new song, but it's one of the benefits, and I think that the biggest pros of the P6 is how quick it is to just like reinvent whatever you're doing. But also, if you start feeling like you're stuck in a rut, you can just resample, change things around, chop it up, do whatever. All right, so let's get out of this and go back over to our main bank and get out of keyboard. This is our synth. So we just need to put that on bar 1, right on the 1. Now, we don't have a bass yet. Actually, before we do the bass, I know what I want to do. So one of the best parts about the P6 is the Granular Engine, which we've not talked about yet. So I think we're going to do that. To choose a pad for Granular, we're going to go Pattern, Granular, and then we'll choose the one we want to use. So that one. That's kind of cool already, but if we go into Shift Mixer, we have all these other settings. So I'm going to go over to Granular, which is page 12 in my cheat sheet, and we're going to run through what we can do on here. Basically, it's a synthesis method that operates a micro sound timescale, involves dividing sounds into samples. It basically like slices your sample into these tiny little granular sample points, and then you can do all sorts of things to it. So there's all sorts of settings. This one is head speed, how quickly it moves. So here the grain density, you can visually see the things that are changing too. I'm gonna just put it real buried in the mix so it's almost like a textured layer to that guitar. Now the one thing missing is bass, and we're just gonna do the S1 live for that one. So let's go. Okay, so from there, I think that's our song. So now I do want to talk a little bit about post-creation on the P6 and discuss patterns, right? There is no pattern chain on the P6, which is actually a bit of a bummer. On something like the SP, you can go over to your patterns and chain saying, okay, in this sort of song mode, I want to start on 16, then 15, then 13, or do drum dropouts on some things, maybe a B section. You can't do that on here. What you can do though is manually switch between patterns. Let me just save this pattern. We're going to hit Shift right, and we're going to save all so that everything's saved there. So if we wanted to switch between patterns, right, we could hit this, and then after this pattern, it's going to switch to 14, which there's nothing programmed, but we could have something programmed. And the nice thing is mutes, because there is a really great quick mute function, are per pad. Something else we need to talk about is in terms of how you structure your samples on here. I like to structure my songs, or try to have basically all of the samples on one bank. Now I've also seen others do where A is your melodic, B is maybe bass sounds or bass one shots, D would be your drums, D for drums and all that. And that's a great way to do it too, especially if you wanted just a bigger pool to pull from in terms of songs. But when I'm composing on here, it's usually with the intent to make a specific song. So I'll move samples in already knowing this is the samples I want to use or something like that. And then that's why I like having everything on one bank, because I can just quickly go, okay, I just want the guitar to start this song. So we're going to do that. And then when I want the drums to come in, I can just quickly do that. Right? And now we're off. Whereas if I was doing it on different banks, if I only wanted certain percussion sounds to come in or something like that, I'd have to switch to the bank, then hold Shift, then unmute or mute those, then switch back to the main bank if I wanted to do dropouts. It's a good way to do it if you want more complexity, but it's a lot of dancing around the P6. The last thing I want to talk about before we jam is just the strangeness of its place in the Roland collection, so to speak. So the SP got that huge Mark II update, but in doing so, they removed some things like the lo-fi button, which was the sample rate type of stuff, the mic, and a few other things from the SP's workflow. It's just gone. Then comes the P6, and it's got the mic, it's got the lo-fi button, different sample rates, but it's also got a very intuitive step sequencer, and the TRF mode does not even come close to how far you can program things on here. There's even probability per step, all that sort of stuff. So it's this weird in between where it is kind of an SP Lite, but then it also has things the SP doesn't have. Per pad filters, per pad send effects. There's like a lot in here that makes it really powerful, even compared to its more expensive older brother that's the bigger, more flagship. So it's a very weird little space when you compare the P6 and the SP404. So let me know what you think about the P6 and how it fits into your workflow in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.